Hello, my name is Darren Jolly, and this is my presentation podcast of the topics I chose, and that is augmented reality and virtual reality in military applications. A little bit about myself. I am a recent graduate of Full Sail in the Recording Arts program. My niche is professional audio, and I do seek to provide my talents to the fields of augmented reality and virtual reality as far as the proper implementation goes of audio into those platforms. So let's go ahead and move right along. Let's talk AR and VR, right? So first, it is the front running in technology. It is extremely new. Everyone's talking about it from military simulation standpoints to entertainment standpoints. It has applications in military simulation training. It has combat applications in the military. Again, the entertainment field, we can't negate its applications in the gaming industry as well as just consumer applications. The hot topics that I chose to talk about in AR and VR is AR in military applications, what it has to offer the military. Obviously, professional audio being my niche, I wanted to talk about audio implementation in AR, human behaviors in VR, virtual reality, as well as audio implementation in virtual reality. So to keep moving right along, augmented reality in military applications. First, let's define what augmented reality is. It is the live, direct, or indirect view of physical, real-world environment where elements are augmented by computer-generated sensory input. It is the blending of reality and the virtual reality on top of a medium, and they have coined it augmented reality. The thing that's great about this in military applications is the collection and presentation of data figures, and this can be about terrain, structures, floral, fauna, and people that can benefit the soldier to be able to make decisions on the battlefield of what building to be in, what flora or fauna to use as cover or concealment rather, and what people are hostile or friendly people. This is extremely beneficial and can aid the soldier in making decisions. Other applications obviously can be designate targets for attack aircraft. It'll increase situational awareness, obviously waypoints and routing information, identify hostile forces, etc., etc. The list goes on and on. It's rather amazing how much this can benefit the military. To continue, from my other resource was Augmented Reality Glasses to the Battlefield by Andrew Rosenbaum. He brought up the idea of a heads-up combat glasses display with a weapon-mounted mouse navigation system. So you can navigate menus with a joystick of sorts on your weapon that is presented to you in your combat glasses, much like the Google Glass wear, right? So they are working towards contact lenses, microelectronic components to show these data figures, but they are still focusing rather on external presentation of this data. One issue that has been noted is that during fight or flight responses of close combat, typically overstimulation of information is provided to the user, and then that information becomes ignored. So let's face it, when you are getting shot at and you fear for your life, you don't necessarily have time to read data and make decisions. You just make them immediately. So they are working on that, and this will all be addressed as we cross those bridges later on. To move right along, the audio implementation in augmented reality, this is rather interesting. So ARA, augmented reality audio, combines virtual sound sources with the real sonic environment of the user. Now, an issue that has been noted in digital augmented reality audio headset by Ramo and Valimaki, is the issue is leakage of sounds as it passes through the ARA headset. So a common well-known issue with audio is if a sound is processed too close to each other, and we're talking milliseconds, the same sound, what happens is comb filtering becomes present. This can be extremely annoying, and it can also just break immersion of the user. They have combated this with some ARA digital mixing processing of equalization curves to help correct this issue. They've addressed other things, but for the sake of time, I'm going to keep moving on. So audio implementation continued. We've got Cohen, who proposed augmented reality audio back in 1993. So again, it is still a very young industry. But during his tests were just binaural audio to augment the sight of telephones located in a virtual world. They didn't negotiate any human spatial hearing from moving around in the virtual world, because let's be honest, it's extremely difficult for technology to run the simultaneous applications necessary to mimic how audio interacts in the real world. We're talking one sound as it's perceived by a human being will be picked up in one ear before the other, the way the frequency content is lost as the sound rolls across the face, how it bounces off resonant cavities on the chest, and how you feel those sounds, not to mention the reflections of the room, known as reverberation, and how to properly process all of that information at once. So we are trying to negotiate those currently, and we are doing a good job with 3D audio, but we still have a lot of headway to make. So moving right along, behaviors in virtual reality. This is interesting. How do humans interact in virtual worlds as opposed to real worlds? The experiment that I found was real behavior in virtual environments. And it was an experiment that cased a virtual labyrinth in which the user had to find the exit, being observed for two human behaviors that were noted during the Good Samaritan study, and that is helping others under time pressure variables, as well as the bystander effect. And the bystander effect is reduced helping under the presence of bystanders. When people are around and someone needs help, you typically pass off the help to another user, hence the bystander effect. What was interesting is both the bystander effect and time pressure reduced helping behaviors that occur in virtual gaming environments. This is conducive to how these behaviors were noted in reality, in the real world, so that's a good thing. One issue that was noted was how social interactions, and behaviors within virtual environments show results that even though behaviors are similar to those in the real world, people may still react differently with virtual humans compared to real humans. What they had noted was how people interact to personal spaces in virtual reality. They don't typically react the same way. They will invade someone's personal bubble and pay no regards to it. Where in the real world, you are very aware of people's personal bubbles, whether it's on the conscious or subconscious level. And also, there was a beneficial use of virtual environments and virtual humans, and that is the ability to study behaviors dictated by the implementations of the environment. Referring to military applications, they can create virtual worlds and create scenarios very specific to what type of behavior they are trying to study and better understand, so they can compile data, compile figures, and come up with a statement, conclusion that supports a hypothesis or doesn't. To continue moving right along, audio implementation in virtual reality. This is extremely interesting. So, using visual and audio aids help the collaborative and cooperative behaviors of the user in the virtual environment. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that the task within a virtual environment is completed quicker or better, but it was noted during the effect of audio and visual aids on task performance in distributed collaborative virtual environments by the authors listed below, that when two individuals were tasked with stacking blocks to their respective colors and shapes, that sounds and visual representations made them feel as if they were close to individuals and the space around them. So the task itself showed no statistical difference, but the subjective evaluation showed that visual and auditory feedback helps in the cooperative manipulation. It helps people feel that other people are with them in the virtual world, which is extremely important. Moving right along to audio implementation in virtual reality continued. George Lucas, now I know we're talking about movies here and production, said sound is 50% of the movie experience. So I want to say the same holds true within virtual reality. You have to have good audio for the virtual reality to be immersive and believable. Immersive audio technology is starting to surface, and the first issues to address is the head tracking and the movement within virtual reality of all the issues I had listed before: frequency, content, roll off as it transfers through mediums, reverberation aspects. This is all being addressed, and we're doing a great job with it in 3D audio. Fully immersive audio will bring object-based sound implementation into virtual reality. So this supports the environment's realistic and believable characteristics. It has to sound right just as much as it has to look right. And this is being talked about at OIX, and it's been talked about at the San Francisco game GDC convention that they have for games. It is surfacing, and it is well known among the industry that we need to address this together, both the visual and audio aspect. To continue on, how does this help develop my career? So we all know knowledge is power. The more I know about augmented reality and virtual reality and how audio is implemented into those platforms, and specifically for me, being a veteran, how those platforms and implementations can benefit military applications. Having this knowledge is going to help me prioritize issues. So 3D audio, we're having issues tracking head movements in virtual reality with low latency. That is something that needs to be addressed, and I've come up with ideas and studies that I would like to do in the UX lab and presented it to Mr. Kennedy and trying to figure out if sounds actually increase performance of eye tracking, and to help me kind of prioritize what I can offer to the community. So down at the bottom, providing solutions. If I can use the knowledge that I've gained and prioritize the issues and address these issues, I can provide solutions to a company I can work for, and then mainly communicate effectively with these individuals. There's a lot that goes into this medium. There's a lot of jargon. There's a lot of vocabulary and understanding that needs to be portrayed to the person you are trying to have a conversation with in regards to this matter. So that is how it'll help me in my career. Currently, these are all the references that I used. I would like to take this time to thank you for listening to my podcast. I hope you found this extremely insightful, beneficial, and educational, and I look forward to the rest of this month. Thank you.